Messi on Sebastian Salazar. Great to be with you. Lots to get to, but only one place to start, really, and that's the drama at Barcelona. Or should we say continued drama at Barcelona? Of course, we've been following along all week the Luis Suarez departure saga. Well, Suarez's tearful farewell has reached the ears of Lionel Messi, and he took to Instagram first to thank Suarez, but then to take a little shot at Barcelona. Here's what he had to say. You deserve to depart like what you are, one of the most important players in the club's history, winning things as part of a group and individually, not for them to kick you out as they have done. But the truth is, nothing surprises me anymore. Of course, you always have to check the comments, and who do we find in the comments? Among others, Neymar, who adds incredible how they do things. Another dig at Barcelona and really the board. For more perspective, we welcome in Alejandro Moreno and Julian Laurent. Jules, what an explosive day on social media. What do you make of it all?
It's just you expected it. You knew exactly what would happen. You knew that Lionel Messi would say goodbye to one of his best friends and someone who he's enjoyed playing alongside for so many years. And you knew he was going to have a dig at the board and at Bartomeu and the people at the top of the club, because that's what he's been doing all year, because he's so against them in many respects, and even more now in the way they treated Luis Suarez. And you knew that then others would follow, like Neymar, like Cesc Fabregas, for example, current players, former players of the club. And it's clearly that for the lack of unity that this club has suffered all season, really now you could see the unity amongst the players against the board. And of course, a lot of the coolest have voted for a vote of no confidence, and that will come very soon. And you can just imagine what could happen to Bartomeu and his people. But again, that was an embarrassing day for Bartomeu today with all that criticism coming from his own players.
Ale, a year ago it was rare we heard from Messi. Now it seems like we hear from him every week, and the tone is only getting angrier and angrier and angrier. Where do you think this ends?
Well, one or two ways, I think, Seb. This is either going to be the most magnificent comeback story for a club that is in absolute disarray, and there is drama after drama after drama, and somehow they all rally together, as Julian just pointed out, and maybe this team in that cause and that common cause that would be, let's play well, let's win things together, let's make this the best year possible, and somehow the results follow. That's one aspect. That's one possibility. Perhaps now, where we sit, the more likely possibility is that this is going to blow up to no end. This has all the making and all the look of a disaster that will have no end up until the players are satisfied with who is actually running the club. And up until that changes, and up until there is trust between the players, the board, and the coaching staff, then we're going to see more drama and more stories and more things coming out that none of it paint Barcelona in a good way. Everything that has to do with Barcelona right now is negative news. None of it has to do with positive environment, and none of it is ideal to play a season or play anything that matters.
Jules, let me play devil's advocate here. We've all known that Barcelona needs to get younger. You yourself have questioned just how productive Luis Suarez will be at Atletico Madrid. Barcelona even made some adjustments to the deal to let him go to one of their rivals in La Liga. What did Messi expect? What did he want?
I don't think the problem is that Suarez left. I think eventually every player leaves anyway. I think it's more the way they got rid of him, and I think that's why Messi, in a way, and even Luis Suarez, in his press conference, that was the underlining there. It's like not so much, okay, you're 33, you gave your best years to this club. I think you're the third highest top goal scorer. You've won a lot of trophies. You did great, and okay, the last 18 months, fitness-wise, you were not up there, but you still scored 21 goals last season. But eventually, everybody leaves. It's more the way. It's more that 1-minute phone call from Ronald Koeman. You don't treat a legend of the club that way. This is not possible. I would not be surprised if no one from the board had called Luis Suarez, for example. If no one from the board had a word for him or something. You know, he probably left feeling a bit disrespected in many respects, and I think that's the issue here. And again, we go back to the way that board has treated the squad, the way the board, and of course it's not easy, because as we've been saying all season long, this dressing room, and especially Busquets, Piqué and Messi, have so much power at the club that it can't be easy to run the club. However, there's still a way of doing it, and there's a way of doing of doing so. And I just think that was the issue all along. And I just think that Messi probably knew that Suarez would go at some point, but the way they sold him, the way they got rid of him, the way they tried to push him away from the club, that is quite disrespectful, to be honest.
And Ale, couldn't be worst possible timing. Barcelona set to open up their season this coming weekend. You think it could destabilize, well, let's be honest, an already pretty unstable situation?
Well, let me just address the fact that the Luis Suarez and the fact that he's getting older, and so therefore it was time for him to leave. And okay, I clearly understand that. This is part of the business that we live in. This is part of the business that we all signed up for as players. We know at some point it's going to end. And I agree fully with Julian on what he's saying about the way that things were handled. But I'll take you to the other end of the spectrum. And this is the part that worries me from a Barcelona fan, is that look at the treatment that a guy like Ricky Puig is getting. A kid who may have just been one of the only positive signs that they had last year, and yet Ronald Koeman comes in, and one of the first things that he does is tell Ricky Puig and say, yeah, you're not part of the plans. And that nobody that is in a decision-making position actually reaches out to Ronald Koeman and say, Ronald, running man, run. Hey, this kid right here is actually one of the only things that we can build equity upon. It's actually one of the only feel-good stories that we have going on. So, hey, how about we handle this a little bit better? And it just gives you an example that everything and anything that has to do with player management has been handled poorly by Barcelona. And so, therefore, Lionel Messi at the top of the table is obviously going to look at everybody and say, look, man, again, we're not surprised because they did it to me, they did it to Luis, they're doing it to Ricky, and they're going to do it to you, and they're going to do it to you, and to you, and to you, and somebody else. And here's the thing. They still got to play a game on Saturday. So you just addressed it. The season starts. And so what is the feeling within that locker room? And that to me is the key of it all. Is this a team that comes together, or is this a team that is just kind of people going in their own directions and just hoping that they survive the season, and they're just looking out for themselves? If they come together, if they rally together, this team will be competitive and they will be good enough to not only contend for La Liga, but to actually win the title. If not, if it's fractured and it's fractured from within, then again, no chance, and this would end up being a disaster year for Barcelona.
Jules, we focus a lot on the board, but to Ali's point about Koeman, he's making a lot of big decisions. Maybe you could even say burning some bridges. Is that part of the plan, or is he going to pay for that later?
Well, time will tell, Sebi. But you knew appointing him, that's what he would do. He would be a bulldozer. He would go in and say, like, I don't want this, I don't like this, I don't want that, I don't want this, I don't like this. You knew exactly that's the guy. That's the kind of guy he is. He's very divisive at times, and he's done that all his career. So there's no surprise in there. We knew exactly. However, the surprise would come exactly like what Ali just said. Ricky Puig, Really? Have you not watched Barcelona play after the restart? Surely if you had, you would not have taken that decision. Even with the change of formation, even you with double pivot, even by wanting to play Frankie de Jong in his best position and Antoine Griezmann in his best position either. This is crazy what they're doing with Ricky Puig. Suarez, okay, it's a bit different. Others, Rakitic, and maybe. But certainly some of the decisions that would either pay off, I guess, or backlash, and then if they backlash, then you know, I think if you're Koeman, you've been big trouble. And again, where Ali is right, what's the feeling in that dressing room? Is Messi? You know, Messi again, the way they treated Suarez, the way Ronald Koeman treated Suarez with that 1 minute phone call, probably even less than a minute, Messi can't be happy with that. And I think I really wonder what kind of relationship Koeman and Messi will already have, and if that's not very good, if that's a bit distant, if that's a bit cold, you have to fear for the worst for Barcelona, because if there's not a good relationship between Messi and manager, and we've seen that in the past, a lot of the time it's not working on the pitch.
Let's turn our attention then to Sunday, their league opener against Villarreal. Sport has published what they think will be Koeman's first competitive 11 with Barcelona. Of course, as you mentioned, it will be a 4-2-3-1, quite the departure from the traditional 4-3-3. According to Sport, guys, we're going to see Messi as the false nine, not Griezmann. Griezmann then dropped into one of those three spots behind Messi. Jules, you just mentioned something that Koeman said about Griezmann. We got to get him back into his position. This doesn't really seem to solve that problem. Are we going to continue to have the uncomfortable fit with Griezmann in this Barcelona 11, even now that Suarez is gone?
I think so. I'm afraid if that's the formation and it looks very likely, and if that's the team and it looks very likely as well, I just don't know what kind of Griezmann we will see. I don't think he can express himself fully in that position. I think it could be quite fluid between him and Messi on who's the deepest and who's the highest on the pitch. However, I just don't think you get the best out of Griezmann in that position. I think him and Messi will probably be in the same zones or in the same areas. If you look at Coutinho on the left hand side, he was going to come inside and probably be again in a similar area and zone than Messi and Griezmann. So, and on the right hand side, if you pick Trincao, for example, ahead of Dembele and Ansu Fati, who would actually make the run behind, then you've got no one running. So I don't know. I'm really curious to see what Koeman goes for. I'm really curious to see that game against a good Villarreal team under Unai Emery, and I just think it's going to be fascinating. But there's already a case of not much movement, a lot of players quite close to each other, a lot of that little passing and intricate passes, but not giving you much. I'm not convinced already.
Yeah, what you have to find, Seb, is a change of pace. And where is that change of pace going to come from? It's not going to come from Coutinho if he's cutting to the inside. It's not going to come from Griezmann if he's dropping underneath. Where is the change of pace? Where is the 1v1 situation that you're going to break somebody down, that you're more direct, that you're able to go at somebody? It's going to come from a guy like Ansu Fati or Dembele. If you're not utilizing those guys, then you don't have a change of pace. And so therefore everything is side to side to side, a little bit forward, back, side to side again. And so you just sit behind the ball if you're Villarreal or any other team, you're organized and you say, all right, well, let's see you guys break us down. You haven't been good enough with your possession over the last year and a half. Let's see if you're good enough with your possession in the attacking half. If you can't break us down, good luck with that.
All right, we should also mention Coutinho, a guy who was forgotten a year ago, scoring against him in the Champions League for Bayern Munich, now back into this probable 11 for Ronald Koeman. Jules, what do you think? Is that the spot for him?
I think he deserves a second chance. I think he arrived at a difficult time. I think there was a lot of things that he had to digest, like the transfer fee, for example. I think his move to Bayern Munich, even if he didn't play every single minute of every game, but maybe did him some good. He obviously won trophies there, and under Hansi Flick, he certainly at times looked like the players that he was at Liverpool. So I think he deserves another chance. But again, he has to be in a right position, in the right environment. And I've always thought anyway that for Coutinho to be at his real best, you have to build the team around him. This team is not going to be built around him, and rightly so, I guess. So I don't know what kind of Coutinho we will see, but he deserves a second chance, and let's hope that the attitude is right, that he's motivated, and that he can work and play with Messi and Griezmann, and that they could actually have little triangles together, that him and Jordi Alba on the left-hand side could work well together too, and then in a way hope for the best. But again, like we've been saying, I'm not that optimistic.
I mean, Ale, for all the alarm bells were sounding, you look at that front four on paper, just the names, Griezmann, Messi, Coutinho, Fati probably as well. It's hard to think of too many top fours that are that much better. How do you think Coutinho, how optimistic are you about Coutinho this season?
I don't have any reasons to be truly optimistic about Coutinho. Let's not forget that he goes to Bayern Munich, and initially he was given an opportunity to see where he fit in and see if indeed he could be an answer for them in the attacking half. And quickly that became a no thanks. You gotta come off the bench. I see a player in Coutinho that needed a change of scenery, and coming back to Barcelona is not that change of scenery. However, there's been reports of his commitment, there's been reports of how much he has worked and got himself ready for the season, and there's that level of motivation that he went straight from Champions League final to Barcelona to begin his preparation. If all those things are true and you have a motivated Coutinho, he's talented enough to create problems for you. So on paper, you have a lot of good pieces. The question is whether those pieces fit together. And so for me, you have Lionel Messi who's going to float around, Antoine Griezmann who likes to float around, Coutinho who'll drift inside as well. Okay, so where are the spaces going to be? Where is it that you're going to create the mismatches? Well, have to be on the flanks. That's where the outlet is going to be. So the critical aspect and the critical piece for me is the growth and maturation of Ansu Fati. And if he is given an opportunity to play with consistency, whether this kid can take the next step. And if he does, he gives Barcelona a different dimension in the attack.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. A full slate of La Liga action this weekend. Of course, we mentioned Barcelona opens their campaign on Sunday. They won't be alone. Atletico Madrid opens up against Granada. Sevilla as well against Cadiz. Manchester United visit Brighton to kick off the Premier League's weekend slate. No surprise, United installed as favourites, despite the fact they're away from home. For more, we welcome in Don Hutchison and Shaka Hislop. Don, I'll start with you, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could be looking at a big lineup decision in that match. Donny van de Beek didn't start the opener against Palace, but he comes on and scores. Then he turns in a man-of-the-match performance in the Carabao Cup midweek. Is it time to move him into the 11? And if you do, Don, who are you taking out?
Great question, because they've got so many good players in there, Seb. It might even be time for Nemanja Matic to come back in that midfield, because the balance just doesn't seem right at the moment. It's okay on paper when you put Bruno Fernandes, you put Paul Pogba, and then add Donny van de Beek. It looks great, but the balance is not there. I would definitely play him. I think he's a kid that's confident. He's got momentum. He certainly knows where the back of the net is, and it might be a time, even though we're a couple of games in, for maybe Paul Pogba to take a break, because his performance, along with a lot of others against Crystal Palace, weren't good enough.
Do you agree with Don? Should it be Pogba? Against Crystal Palace, the kind of central three was Bruno Fernandes, Pogba, and McTominay behind them.
Oh, it's got to be McTominay then.
Is that enough balance? That's what Don just points out. Can you really throw those three guys in there and expect them to cover a back line that is not great?
I think you have to. You've got to have your firepower on the pitch. I don't see how you leave who has been your best player so far out, who is potentially the biggest name star in your squad, and Bruno Fernandes, who's come and all of a sudden made Manchester United a top 4 team. They've got to play, and you've got to take the chance with the balance. Whether you then instruct an otherwise back four that seems a little bit without direction to play higher up the park, to keep it more compact with the midfield, and hope that you get the protection by just virtue of your numbers. Maybe that's the approach that Ole needs to be working on the training ground. But otherwise, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how you justify leaving out Bruno Fernandes, Van de Beek, or Paul Pogba.
United Brighton on Saturday. Chelsea West Brom as well. I guess the big question, or one of the big questions for Frank Lampard, is what to do with Kai Havertz. Don, we've seen him now in the number 10. Sure, it was the Carabao Cup, but you can't turn your eyes away from a hat trick. It's a very impressive performance. Is that proof enough that that's where this guy should be playing? Is he Chelsea's new number 10? And then what does that do to all the pieces around him?
Yeah, he'll definitely start, Seb. I mean, the kid's got so much confidence to come off the back of a hat-trick. I mean, don't forget, he's been in England 5 minutes, doesn't know the language, trying to settle into a brand new dressing room, and add the fact that he's not played a full 90 minutes yet. So he only played 45 minutes against Liverpool, played for just shy of an hour against Brighton, and then scored a hat-trick the other day in the Cup. So Frank will definitely play him. He'll find a position for him, and that best position is a number 10. Then he's going to have to find out who's fit and available. We don't think Hakim Ziyech is fit. We're not sure on Christian Pulisic just yet. But he's still got Timo Werner. He can always play him off the left-hand side, Mason Mount off the right-hand side, and then ask Olivier Giroud, who got his goal, to lead that line as well. So he's got loads of options.
Chuck, another decision for Frank Lampard. Edouard Mendy, he's finally got his goalie, but he said he will wait to get him into the starting lineup. Now, let me see. Stevie, Frank, pretty much everybody on this show said the names are on the back of the uniforms. Whatever Shaka's talking about doesn't make sense. You were the only person that said you have to wait to put him in. It's something I'm unfamiliar with. What does it feel like to be so overwhelmingly right?
I have no idea. I really don't.
It's a first
for me, Seb. Listen, the thing is, and as much as we joke and jest about the goalkeeping position and everything around it, if an outfield player were coming in to a team and signed on a Thursday or a Wednesday, nobody would expect them to go straight into that starting lineup. And I just feel it's the same for a goalkeeper. Nobody expects you to get off the plane, get into your chauffeured car on the tarmac and head straight in between the sticks and start playing. So it didn't really surprise me to hear that from Frank Lampard. Again, for him, the only decision is who keeps the seat warm until until Edward Mendy is available and acclimatized, let's call it, and selected. I thought it should have been Caballero for the first game of the season. I thought it should have been Caballero in the cup. Third time, maybe it's third time lucky. I think Caballero has got to play, and then you introduce Mendy in midweek.
Don, what do you think? It's got to be Caballero, right? He can't start Kep after the mistake.
If you're Frank Lampard or Petr Cech or even a boardroom level, do you try and play Kepa at the moment where his market value might be semi-high, or the contradiction to that is, Seb, if you are playing him and he's making mistakes, is his value then coming down? So it's a really hard one to try and gauge. But I think for Frank, he's got to play the best players that are in form. And it ain't going to be Mendy. As Shaka said there, when you step off the tarmac and you've done the medicals and it's been quite draining and the sun has been predicted over the last sort of couple of weeks, you get that over the line. Very, very hard, I would imagine, to try and be a goalkeeper with a brand new back four in front of you that are not exactly keeping clean sheets. So I would be stunned if it's not Caballero.
Meanwhile, guys, on Sunday, great match, Manchester City and Leicester. But if you're City, Don, you got to be worried. Obviously, no Kun Agüero, and now word that Gabriel Jesus is out for a month. Where does this team turn?
Well, the son of Rory Delap played the other day, and he scored his goal in the Carabao Cup, so it depended on what he's like and what Pep's seen. You always know what Pep knows, Seb and Shaq. He always throws something different. He might play Phil Foden as a false nine. He's always got something up his sleeve in terms of tactics. I was listening to Pep's presser today. He says he's got 13 senior pros injured. Now that's a lot. Even if you're Man City and you have got an embarrassment of riches, that is still, a big blow. So he's going to have to come up with something, and he normally does, Pep. So we'll wait and see what the starting 11 is going to be.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. One more look at the Premier League schedule then for the weekend. As we mentioned, Chelsea, Manchester United in action on Saturday. And then how about the match on Monday? Liverpool and Arsenal. Circle your calendars.